Okay, so I don't want to waste any time because we only have about 50 minutes to talk with y'all. My name is Larry Draugh, and I'm an Aggie alum. I came out of here in 2008, and I've been blessed to have traveled the world playing music. I've been around a lot of really cool people, and I've learned a lot of really cool things. And so I'm here today because I want to impart some of the wisdom and experience to you. Yeah, I didn't want to.
Okay. Sorry. Everyone, I apologize. Sometimes with this parking situation, they can kind of come in.
That's fine. Yeah.
As promised, we have another presenter today. This is Mr. LarryDraugh, percussionist, drummer extraordinaire, and you're going to see a lot of things today that he's going to present to you. And you hear me talk every day, so just go on.
Well, y'all are blessed to hear him talk every day because this man's a fountain of wisdom, and it would behoove you as a young person in the formative years of your journey to listen to somebody intently who has already been where you've been and who is successful and qualified to teach you something. I think that's very important. So to get things started, here's what I want you to do. I want to take this up at the end, grab a piece of paper, and I want you to write down, I'll give you about 2 minutes to do this. I want you to write down what you think this presentation means. 100 years in Black American rhythm, from stomping and clapping to digital grooves. We're gonna see if you right. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start my timer. You got 2 minutes. So at 10:03, what's my friend's name, the percussionist?
Zion.
Miss Zion? Okay, Miss Zion is gonna take up your estimations. Go for it. You got 2 minutes. For those who are just walking in, you want to go ahead and grab a piece of notebook paper, and you want to write on your notebook paper what you think this title means. 100 years in Black American rhythm, from stomping and clapping to digital grooves. Y'all got, I'll give you 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you got about 1 minute and 20 left. 100 years in Black American rhythm, from stomping and clapping to digital grooves. What do you think that means? A minute 30's left. The question is, what do you think this phrase means? 100 years in Black American rhythm, from stomping and clapping to digital grooves. What do you think you're going to learn today? In your own words. You don't have to use King's English. Just make sure that you know it ain't in all capital letters. Yeah, I think so. About 45 seconds left. 45 seconds. And as stated before, Ms. Zion, she's going to come through and she's going to pick up your responses. Now you got about 30 seconds left. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, pencils down in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pencils down. It's all good. It's all good. He's still cheap. It's all good. All right. So 100 years in Black American rhythm from stomping and clapping to digital grooves. I'm gonna keep it hot with you. About 70 to 80% of what I'm gonna share with you, I learned sitting in this very seat. Because during my senior year here at North Carolina A&T, I jokingly tell people all around the world that 1 year, thank you so much, man. That 1 year, my senior year, I had like the dream setup of classes. I was taking Western art, music history. I was taking the history of jazz. No, I was taking Western art, music history, form and analysis. I was taking the history of jazz, the history of gospel, and I was taking the writing course, the history of hip hop. Y'all still do that over in the English department? Okay, bet. So I was taking that, and I was in jazz band. So that semester, that year, opened my mind up and really shaped a lot of what I'm gonna share with you today. So let's jump on into it. I know some of y'all are in here music makers, but either way, just as Black people, you need to know the history and the mechanics of these two essential rhythms. I'm gonna clap it first, and then you copy me, all right? So here's the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And stop. All right. So that's the Tresillo rhythm. If you understand the history of Spain, Spain had a lot of contact with Northern Africa because of the close proximity. It's literally so close. I remember whenever I was in Morocco, you could straight across the ocean and see Spain. You feel me? And the North Africans ruled Spain for over 1,200 years. That's why Columbus and his generation were so adamant in their treatment of Black people, because the Moors ruled Spain. That's why you see all of that Middle Eastern architecture in Spain. But either way, we use the Spanish name for an African rhythm. One of the things you'll learn whenever you begin to study world history is that something may come from one particular country, but the language will be different. You feel me? Kind of like how we Black, but we speak English. And then we're able, not only do we speak colloquial English, but we also learn how to code switch whenever we are in certain situations of business and opportunity. Here's the second rhythm. It's called the Pentecostal beat. Show me how country you are, all right? I'm from North Carolina. I grew up on this rhythm. This is the first rhythm I learned. It goes like this. 1, 2, you know what to do, bro. Hold on, stop. Hold. That's weak. Y'all look like y'all ashamed to be Black or something. Come on, put your foot on the ground. Because when you understand the history of this rhythm, you won't sit there and be all dead. 1, 2, everybody, go. All right, that's a little bit. And stop. Okay. It's the combination of these two rhythms that revolutionized American music, right? These two rhythms is literally the cheat code of all Black music. This is the thing, and I began to realize this when I started touring. I didn't realize how much people were trying to learn Black American rhythms until I went to Africa, right? I already knew that other cultures, right, outside of African nations were trying to deal with our rhythms. But when I went to Africa, and you know, they watch a lot of American TV, and they do and don't know like the rules of engagement. We was in the airport. Me and my you know Lance. Oh, yeah. So me and Lance tell you the same story. We was in the gift shop, like buying stuff for our families, right? This sister comes up to us. She's fine as that thing. Too. You gotta go to South Africa. Oh my God, it's a different kind of light skin. So at any rate, she goes up. She goes, "You Americans are so ghetto." And she was trying to say something nice to us. She wasn't trying to offend us. She, in her not being American, she associated ghetto with Black, but like in a good way. It wasn't the great. Then, when we went to do the concert we were playing, I'm intimidated because I'm in Africa. around African drummers. Like, these brothers are like my $5, played this drum, and he played this drum and taught me this. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got that. You feel me? But no, they were trying to get what I had. And the reason being, I mean, you know, without taking you down the W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Carter G. Woodson lane, you should be studying that on your own here. But long story short, Black Americans, we are the, this process that we've gone through of dealing with institutionalized racism and the group of whites that we have interacted with, being the English, we are the cream of the crop whenever it comes to fighting colonialism and white supremacy. We have overcome stuff that everybody else is still struggling to get over. And so they look to us as Americans as the leaders. And our music is one of our greatest contributions because of the science behind it. So I'm going to take you through a musical timeline and playlist of Black American popular drummers and ensembles that were key contributors to the evolution of the 8th note subdivision in Black American dance music through the combined use of the Tracy-O rhythm and the Pentecostal beat. As a participant, you should expect to leave with a greater understanding of the history of these essential rhythms to swing field and jazz improvisation and how to utilize said rhythms in a variety of Black American rhythmic contexts. That's just a big word way of saying, listen, if you pick up what I'm putting down, I can put you in any musical setting, and even if you're not a musician, if you're just a layperson, you will have a deeper understanding and connection with music. That's all I'm saying. All right. So appreciating differences by seeing the sameness first. Even though I talk a lot about the dichotomy between Western European culture and Black American culture or West African culture, I'm not a racist. I love everybody. You feel me? And really the heart of this presentation is really to bring about a reconciliation, not to get you more upset with white people than you may already be as young people. So when we talk about this ubiquitous 3/2 polyrhythm, this rhythm is ubiquitous because you can't have dance music without this rhythm. Every culture on earth has some iteration of this rhythm. What it is that the African system is the most articulate and sophisticated version of it. But everybody got some version of this rhythm. That's why when they hear the Black American version, they're like, oh snap, that's how you're supposed to do it the greatest way. You know what I'm saying? So we always hear about how rhythm is connected to the human heart, but I've been playing drums it'll be 38 years in October. And I've been studying this particular subject. I remember the day whenever I bought this graphic notebook, like the mathematicians use graph paper. And I remember the old jazz band director, Mr. Andre Moffat. I remember the day I came in here and I had written this 3/2 polyrhythm in my graph notebook paper. And I walked over to him, I was like, Dre, man, I'm trying to figure this thing out. And he was like, oh, you doing it on graph paper, you serious. I was standing right there. I'll never forget that day because something clicked. So I'm saying that to say to you, I've been dealing with this concept for a long time. And I just recently, as of maybe about 8 months ago, come to this conclusion, okay? So the human heartbeat is one of the many pulses of creation, and every living person has one. So musically speaking, the complete duration of one heartbeat is equal to the sum of the systolic rhythm plus the diastolic rhythm. Another way to see this is through comparing rhythms by duration. A 1-beat duration is called the systolic rhythm, right? And then a 2-beat duration is called the diastolic rhythm, which would, okay, if we were to talk music for, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna talk again, right? So that would be the first one, the systolic is the 8th note, the diastolic is a quarter note. And the 3-beat duration is the dotted quarter note. It's the combination of all three. So when we compare these rhythms in terms of duration, the diastolic rhythm is twice as long as the systolic, and every drummer knows that a phrase combining 2 and 1 is called a shuffle rhythm. I'm gonna teach you how to play a shuffle rhythm if you don't know, and I want you to play it after I show you. Here's a shuffle rhythm. 1, 2, you do the same, go. And stop. So one of the ways that you can teach that rhythm to people as quickly as possible, regardless of whether they speak English or not, is to get them to understand the concept of long and short. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. And the dope thing about Black American rhythm, the way we deal with long and short, everybody else is trying to cop how we understand. All right? Let's keep moving. The human heartbeat is a shuffle rhythm. But to be more specific, I know you're going to appreciate this. The human heartbeat is actually an inverted shuffle rhythm. Whenever we talk about rhythm, we talk about these things called triplets, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, the version of the rhythm that I just played you emphasized beat 1 and beat 3. You did? But your heartbeat doesn't beat like this. It doesn't do this rhythm. It doesn't do that rhythm. It don't do that. Your heart actually plays the inverse of this, which is cold. Check this out. Your heartbeat is actually doing this. It's playing these two rhythms. You see? So if you were to rewrite that rhythm, it's actually that. That's what your heart's doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Not 1, 2, 3. That's wrong. Your heart's doing it. And whenever you study African rhythm, that's whenever like the mind-blowing thing happens. But let's see, the human heartbeat is a fundamental lesson in syncopation. I'm gonna keep going though. You need to know the 3 inversions of these triplet parses. I'm gonna keep going. The heartbeat and the golden ratio. If you want to take a picture of this, I'll give you 10 seconds because this is $1 million worth of game. You got 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So the hidden messages in creation. The first thing the heartbeat is trying to teach you is the notion of call and response. The second thing it's trying to teach you is that syncopation is a normal thing because the heart rhythm actually plays the church waltz rhythm. If you've ever been to church, we have a lot of different ways that we play a waltz. A waltz is a rhythm in 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Most people are used to that one. 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm saying? You hear the choir, they'll have a song and like it's really starting to go in on the vamp section, and then like the choir will do. Because that rhythm lifts everything. But if you really want to get as ancient as you want to be, you'll actually play this rhythm. So you do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Because all of that space is where the funk is. That's one of the concepts of call and response you've got to understand in black music. The space is where all of the fun is. Because it's the space is where the mystery lies, right? I can put something in the space, or I can let the space ride, and it makes what I just did in reference to that space that much more important because of the space. I hope that makes sense. Let me say this. And this is similar to the old adage about listening. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And so that means you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. The golden ratio. You have to have the number 1 before you can have 2 or 3. It's duh, but a lot of times people forget that in rhythm, and that's why their stuff be uneven. As a rhythmist, as a musician, you've got to understand synchronization before you understand syncopation. You got to understand how everything works together. The best way, I teach at school, right? And my kids are doing stuff that I was 17 and 18 when I learned it, but they're doing it at 5. And one of the ways that I'm able to convey these ideas as quickly as possible is by relating it to their life experience. When you talk about learning how to synchronize before you learn how to syncopate, stop and think about whenever you were a baby. When you were learning how to travel, because rhythm is travel, right? Even right now, if I want to travel from this seat to that door, what's the first thing I gotta do? I gotta stand up, exactly. So what do your feet do whenever they stand? Whenever you stand on them, they're doing the exact same thing. They're synchronized. Then syncopation happens whenever you begin to put one foot in front of the other and move. Does that make sense? You gotta synchronize before you syncopate. So if you come in as a rhythmist This is how come they tell us drummers, hey man, I don't need to hear you playing all them chops. Just give me the groove. Just give me pocket, man. Because that pocket it gives the music a gravitational center. That's very important. Okay. I ain't gonna talk to you about that. Because I really want to get to this music. All right. Let's start out with an important piece of music. This is by a gentleman who's from North Carolina. His name is John P. Key. We're only going to do a little bit of this song. It's called Lily in the Valley. And the reason why I use this as a major point to teach the Pentecostal beat is because it's a brilliant expression of this rhythm. All right, so just get in where you fit in, okay? One of the reasons why the time was kind of shifting and it wasn't solid was because you're doing a great job and you're clapping, but your stomp is weak. I explained to you earlier, when you study the heartbeat, you have to study it from the standpoint of long and short duration. And what happens is when you don't have it, if you don't have an even distribution of duration, that's how your groove will either speed up or it'll slow down and begin to drag. So here's what I want you to do. We're gonna do it again, but I want you to put your freaking foot on the ground. I don't know why we got like this weak foot thing happening, but put your freaking foot on the ground. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mean it. You don't have to stomp loud, but what I'm saying is in terms of duration, don't be like, it sounded real mayonnaise in here. You know what I'm saying? Come on, y'all Aggies, right? So, let's see here. That rhythm is called the Pentecostal beat, and the two gentlemen that you see, this is another reason why I ain't racist, because when you study human history, you find out that it's always a combination of people from different ethnic backgrounds that make something happen. You always are going to have somebody who's going to be at the fore who was destined to be the face of it. But it's always the combination of several different cultures and ideas that make a thing a thing. So in the case of the Pentecostal beat, the African-American gentleman you see is Mr. William J. Seymour, right? Coldest preacher in the early 1900s. The white man next to him is Charles F. Parton, who, because of his position of white privilege, was able to get into a lot more spaces. And he was able to get into a lot more spaces than William J. Seymour. But William J. Seymour, everybody looks at him as the catalyst and the father of the Pentecostal movement. And this is the type of rhythms that they would play. The Azusa Street Revival of 1906 was a revival where people from all over the world came to this little horse stable on Azusa Street in Los Angeles. And this is the type of rhythms that they were dealing with. That John P. Key example is a brilliant example because it's the two oldest instruments on earth. What's the oldest instrument on earth? What is it? The voice, exactly, the human voice. What's the second oldest instrument? It's percussion. All right? So, let's see here. Oh, you got to understand the philosophy behind the Pentecostal beat. The Pentecostal beat represents going from death to life. It represents going from a bad situation to a better situation. The Pentecostal beat, when it's performed with the right philosophy and technical prowess, will make you feel extreme joy and the ability to overcome any situation. One of the things you've got to understand in the West African mindset about rhythm, we recognize that rhythms prophesy, meaning that they have a hidden message. In fact, this idea is so entrenched in West African culture, how many of y'all have ever heard of the talking drum? Go like this if you've ever heard of the talking drum. You ever seen or heard about a talking drum? Okay, well, a talking drum is the first cellular communication device. It's the first long-range telecommunication device. It's a small drum that you put underneath your arm. And the Mali kingdom, if you've ever heard of King Sundiata, right? They developed this system of telecommunication to where they could get a message. If the king wanted to convey a message across North Carolina, he would be able to do it in about an hour. And what it was that, first off, he's royalty. So it's not like you're going to be on your cell phone while a king is talking. You feel me? You're going to pay attention. So they had this system of honoring their community. And what they would do was, when they said, hey, the king's got a message, everybody stopped what they were doing. And they paid attention, and then they would play the drums. And because the drums were, the oldest instrument is the human voice. So they took the language and they built a system of rhythm and music that directly emulated the language. So we had two brothers from Mali right here, and they had their two drums. You know how you go to the store and people from different countries, they be talking in their language about you while you're in the store? Like they're able to do it not only with their language, but they can be playing beats and talking to each other and just talking all kinds of crazy stuff about you, or saying very nice things about you. But either way, the first long-range telecommunication devices were talking drums. So there's a supernatural intelligence that Black people have been given to share with the world whenever it comes to understanding the messages that are conveyed in rhythm. This Pentecostal beat has a lot of different names. It's called the Pentecostal beat, the train beat, the railroad beat, the boom chick beat, the boom chicka beat, the church beat, the back beat, the upbeat, and the pop. These rhythms have different names because they're used in different contexts. Like, for example, if you've ever heard, this is history of jazz, right? Yes. So y'all should know about stride piano, right? Okay, well, the left hand played what they call the pa rhythm. I think I'm gonna play you an example of the Charleston by James P. Johnson. I think that's what I have lined up next. Boom. Between, you could argue, whenever I talk to my elementary school kids, as long as they give me a multiple of 2, and then they give me a multiple of 3, I ain't even tripping. Because some of my babies would say, well, actually, Mr. Druin, that rhythm is 6 because 3 plus 3 is 6. I got first graders that talk to me like that. Actually, Mr. Druin. And I'm like, all right, well, as long as it's a multiple of 3 and it's a multiple of 2. So I'll take 2-4. I'll take 2-4 in terms of the Pentecostal beat. I'll take 2-4, 8. I'll do 16. In terms of the Tresillo rhythm, I'll take 3, 6. In certain instances, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. You see what I'm saying? All right. Now, this is Warren Baby Dodds, and he took the Pentecostal beat, being in New Orleans, he took the Pentecostal beat, and he switched it, and he created what was called the chain beat. Now, in march music, y'all should know this is Aggies, because, you know, we have a world famous marching band. The march rhythm in America is... Right? That's the march rhythm. So, you know, Black people, we gotta add swag to everything. We gotta turn, if they say, hello, how are you? We're gonna say, hey man, what's happening? Right? We gotta add the thing to it, right? So here's what he did. He said, instead of. Do you hear the difference? Once again, we had this intelligence that in this construct, see, I look at white supremacy for what it is. It's a myth. You ain't better than me, a freak. If you were better than me, why are you working so hard to oppress me? Because people who I know I'm better than, I don't even think about them. But the fact that I'm on your mind all of the time, the fact that you were literally using every aspect of society to keep me under surveillance so you can make sure that I don't compete with you, proves your lack of superiority. You see what I'm saying? And in this generation, because my granddaddy is from this generation, on my dad's side, my grandfather was born in 1910, and my grandmother, not my great-grandmother, I'm talking about my grandparents. My grandmother was born in 1908. And so I got a chance to sit at their feet and hear how black people thought during this time. And a lot of black people, my folks from Edgecombe County down in Charborough, here's what they thought. They were like, listen, man, white people just crazy. You just gotta pray for them. With their white supremacy thing, meaning that this erroneous notion of being better than somebody just by default is a ridiculous notion. You gotta have some kind of mental illness. You feel me? And the reason why that's important is because we have the responsibility, you have the responsibility as young scholars, right, to bring the emphasis forward about the intentionality, the intellectual intentionality behind these rhythms. You know what I'm saying? We even do it to each other as black people. We dishonor each other so much. We act like we'll get all geeked up if somebody else's culture is doing something. But we look at our stuff like it's trash. And I used to do the same thing too. It wasn't until I went to Africa and these Africans told me that what I was doing was valuable, that I was like, hold up. Because you can trace your history directly back about 3,000 years. I can't do that. So here you are, you're more historically enriched than I am, and you're telling me what I got is better than you, that you're measuring what you got to mine, and you're trying to get what I got. Yo, it's a wrap. And then that's when I started going, all right, that happened to me. I went to South Africa for the first time. I think I was 23. I'm 39 now. Changed my life. 2015, I was hired by a Ghanaian pastor in Ghana to teach contemporary Christian rhythms to his rhythm section. Now, he got two prodigious children. I think one was 9, the other one was 11. And they were playing more drums than me on my best day. But he's telling me, no, I need you to train them. They need to know what you know. I'm like, bruh, what the freak do I have? You know what I'm saying? What do I really have? And that's how you got to start thinking. Okay, so Papa Joe Jones, what he did was, he took this Tresillo rhythm and he extrapolated it out across the drum set. So this is called the saxophone. Everybody turn this way. It's called the saxophone. And you got the Pentecostal beat. Or, why not? So you got, this is what people were playing before. They were like, actually at first it was this. But I can't read it. Even if we don't, so he took another rhythm that you got. Right after him, Papa Joe Jones put the tambourine rhythm on the Pentecostal beat on the sock cymbal on the hi-hat. The drummer that came after him in the 1940s, Kenny Clark, did this. So Papa Joe Jones said, all of these rhythms are speaking to each other, and all of these rhythms are inextricably connected. I'm artistic director of a project. I got about 7 jobs. And trust me, as an Aggie, especially if you're studying music, you have to have more than one job. You figure, deal me? And the economy that you guys are graduating into with the advent of AI, you definitely gonna have to have more than one job. Thank you, sir. And so, one of my jobs, I have this project, it's called the North Carolina Jazz Continuum Project, where basically I take the history of all of these incredible black musicians from all genres of music, and I teach it to little kids, because I'm 40, right? And I'm middle-aged, so by me teaching it to little kids, I'm able to help them get started a lot faster. So whenever they become professionals, they're strongly rooted in the music of their region. The reason I say that is because that word continuum came to me in about 2013, 2014. Continuum. The root word of continuum is continue, a straight line that never ends, it keeps going. But it's a line, so everything that precedes it is connected. That's how you got to start thinking about everything. Everything. I don't care whether you're an engineer, I don't care if you're a math major, I don't care if you're a scientist, whatever the freak you're studying, you need to be thinking about it in terms of a continuum. Because as a young person, one of the mistakes that I used to make was I tried to invent the wheel by myself. You ain't got to do that. There's already a bunch of old, and if they're not old, they're dead, brilliant black people that have already thought about what your young behind is trying to think about, and they've thought about it more thoroughly than you. So it is this first part of your journey, honestly, I'm gonna keep it hot with you, is you mastering how to look back efficiently so that you're able to glean what you need for your destiny right now. That's a cheat code. I just talked to you about Kenny Clark. Now, this book wasn't written by a black gentleman. This is actually written by Jim Chapin. This white guy got a lot of respect for because he was smart. In 1948, whenever bebop, which is the grandfather to hip hop music, was at its height, he used to just go and use his white privilege, but he was humble. He would just sit in the back of the club, and he would just listen to these brilliant black jazz drummers and rhythmists, and he would transcribe what they wrote. All right, and then he would go talk with them about it and get insight, get understanding on how they were coming up with their rhythmic innovations. Unfortunately, because of racism, there were brothers that wrote books that were not just equal to this book, but actually superior because it had a lot of this information I'm sharing with you today. But obviously those books didn't get pushed to the educational fore. But you need to be aware of it as a percussionist. I'm pretty sure you already know about this, right? Advanced screenshot it, free game. Come on, advanced techniques for the modern drummer. The thing that I love about Caucasian culture is this. They believe in serializing rhythm. Now, here's what I'm going to do because we got only a few minutes left, and I want to give you guys time for questions. So I'm about to shoot you through this timeline super fast. Are you ready? All right, bet. So we're in the 40s. That's Art Blakey. That's Hard Bop. Max Roach, who is from North Carolina. He's from the Newland Township out on the East Coast. You need to know about him. He's the father of every modern rhythm that drummers are still trying to check out. Let me see here. He built upon the Kenny Clark and Papa Joe Jones' use of the Charleston rhythm. I told you that the Charleston rhythm is just a regional name for the Traceo rhythm, right? But he went from playing it with just 2 limbs to all 4 limbs. He also worked with pianist Richie Powell to take the jazz rhythmic lexicon around the Traceo rhythm. And then our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean who speak Spanish, they call this rhythm clave, which means key. Key, what do you do with the key? You what? Open something, you unlock something. Basically what they're trying to tell you with clave, when you study Latin American rhythms, they're trying to tell you this rhythm, that's the cheat code. If you learn every inversion of that rhythm, everything else is happening around it, you'll be able to figure it out like that. It took me about 5 years to finally get that revelation. Another white dude you need to take, okay, you got that one, that. You know what I'm saying? I know you educated, you know what I'm saying? All right, you need to know Elvin Jones and Tony Williams, but not just these drummers, you need to know the people that they played with, because these rhythms, once again, because they're messages, they're amplified within a given context. And so when you know the musicians that they played with, then you can really understand the magnitude of what they were playing. All right, I'm gonna play this real quick. Well, let me keep it. Now let me say this real quick. My fault. I'm gonna go back. Let me say this. The reason why this clip of my kids is so important is because I told you that a clave is a key, right? Well, the way that I'm able to teach these kids all these classic hip hop verses is because I teach them the clave first. I taught them that the way you learn these raps is if you understand the rhythm that the author is imposing words upon, the English call it iambic pentameter. If you understand the rhythm that they're phrasing everything around, you can figure out any rap verse. I can learn any verse in 10 minutes. I don't care who it is. So in the case of Rapper's Delight, it's da 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 da. Now what you hear is not a text. I'm rapping to the beat. So I did that with them. Hey man, check out my kids, man. Check out my babies, man. But he talks about the Black American concept of subdivision. He calls it the beat within the beat. We're still in the 1980s. People think that Robert Glasper is like the first to fuse jazz and hip hop. No, Miles Davis, who changed the face of Black American music 5 times, was doing this in the 1980s. When you talk about the 1990s, you need to know about New Jack Swing. You need to know about Jay Dilla. When you talk about the 2000s, that was my era. Everything was all about Timberland. Check out how he uses the Tracy rhythm. Check this out. That's the Pentecostal beat and the Tracy rhythm. And when Timberland first started making beats, everybody, he's from Virginia, so he country, everybody was like, what the heck is this? Let's see here. Zaytoven, trap music. Same thing. Amir Questlove Thompson, the drummer for the Mighty Roots band. You need to know about him. Young Chopper with drill. Now I heard you actually playing the drill rhythm on the beat that you made earlier, and I was like, yes. So here's the rhythm that defines the drill genre. It's the Tracy rhythm. It's like this. All that's the Tracy rhythm combined with the Pentecostal beat. Let me see here. Chris Daddy Dave, you need to check him out if you don't know who he is. And then, yeah, these are must-have reads. These are some other books. Any percussionists or serious musicians in here need to comment. All right, questions, comments. If you want to do my QR code, I suggest you follow me on Instagram. I have an incredible podcast called Conversations in Rhythm, where I talk with people from all walks of life. I talk to musicians, but I also talk to pastors. I talk to mothers. I talk to all instrumentalists. In fact, y'all need to follow me so that whenever I interview Dr. Cooper, you know what I'm saying, y'all are able to be aware of that. So who has any questions?
I do
Yes, sir.
more on the education side.
Okay.
Whenever we was doing the exercise, a lot of the issue with the rhythm was the upbeat. So how do you teach that to like kids of a younger age?
By numbers. Everybody, regardless of their ability to articulate the rhythm, numbers is the unifying concept. So if I can get a kid and they can understand 1 comes first and 2 comes second, I can tell them the rhythmic timbre that I need. So for example, this is how I actually teach inverting rhythms. I'll tell them I have my kindergartners, I have them play 1, 2, 1, 2. Before they even play it, they gotta say it. So they have to do 1, 2, 1, 2. Then what I have them do is I tell them which one has to be louder. So they'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, play. 1, 2, 2. And I'll say make 1 louder. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. You see what I'm saying? That's it. Just give them a number. And what it does is the brain and the cognitive process of spatial awareness, their motor skills will catch up because their spatial awareness is already there because of the numbers. What's that?
You know, people say like hip hop dying, right?
Say again?
You know, people say like hip hop is dying.
Yes.
Do you think the production has a role in that, or is it purely just like?
I think hip hop is dying because of the message. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing that I don't like about drill, right? Drill is deaf music. What the freak? It's about Negroes killing each other. That's retarded. If we all kill each other, there's gonna be no black people left. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that it's dying in that context, because if you understand the history of hip hop, you understand that initially it was music designed to empower us. One of the things that you need to investigate outside of this class is you need to investigate the history of racism in the music industry. I'm gonna just give you a real quick rundown. Black people create art amongst ourselves, and we define the parameters of what's good and what's not. But because we don't understand the business infrastructure in the white supremacist system, white people will come along and then they will superimpose their values of money making onto our art. And so that's how come that here it is, you some dope rapper, and everybody in your neighborhood is feeling you, but then you get ready to go get a record deal, and some nerd who went to Harvard is telling you why your music isn't good. It's like, bruh, I'll beat your tail. You know what I'm saying? Like, you feel me? So it's that, it's that interaction, it's the way that the music is being used to destroy our community. But here's the good thing about that because it's a negative connotation, y'all got the opportunity to bring a positive connotation. When hip hop first came out, it was dance music, it was party music, and it was empowering. How black is this name? Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. That's the most black on black hip hop, you know what I'm saying? And when you listen to him, when you listen to KRS, they weren't talking about killing each other. You know what I'm saying? That's goofy. I hope I answered your questions.
Nah, you definitely.
What's
I was
that?
gonna ask, can you go back, 2 slides to,
Make your checks payable to LarryDraughnMusic. I said, make your checks payable to LarryDraughnMusic. That one? Chris Daddy Dave? Yeah. Let's talk about Chris Dave for a second. Because he is the embodiment of everything I'm saying. Like, I've had a chance to develop a student-teacher relationship with Chris. And the biggest thing that he has taught me is all of this rhythm is the same. He calls them African spook rhythms because the gentleman who I referred to earlier, Warren Baby Dodds, that's what he called them. The way that he fought back against white supremacy in his generation, dealing with all these classical percussionists that were trying to act like they were better than him. Now here it is, he can go to an orchestra gig, he can sit in and he can play everything they play, then he can play these spook rhythms that they can't even get at, and they act like they're better than him. So what he did was kind of like how black people, we embrace the N-word. That's what he did. He was like, all right, well, fine. I play African spook rhythms. Beat me to that. Same thing with Duke Ellington in his orchestra. He purposely called white folk called it jungle music to be funny. He was like, oh, all right, come out here to the jungle. Try to do what I do. And they couldn't. Anybody else? Go ahead, sir.
Based on what he just said, it posed like a lot of thoughts in my head. So looking at the origin of rap, it's really just a story. You know,
Yes.
telling the story.
Western African
So
rap
like
tradition.
with it being drill music, like yes, it's not positive, but in most cases it's just about their life. So like how do you like tell somebody that we don't want to hear your story, we don't want to hear your life? And coupled with the white industry, like they push that into society. So like it's a lot of facets that goes into like that. So like from your standpoint, like how does that work?
I did. Well, first off, you said that it's the story about somebody's life. This is where when you get a little bit older and you slow down, you'll be able to see stuff of what it really is. Y'all know, okay, how many of y'all watched the Young Thug case? Or were just aware that Young Thug was in court because he was in trouble? They have what they, during 50 Cent's generation, that was my generation, the early 2000s, I was a student here at A&T when 50 was big. They came up with a whole, once again, using the system to attack us. They came up with a system called the Hip Hop Police. And their job, this is a section of the FBI, and all their focus was just surveilling black men in music and using the music to incriminate them in court cases. So in the case of Young Thug, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So in the case of Young Thug and in the case of all the drill rappers, the reason why it's dumb is because drill is the first music where a rapper will say, yeah, I killed Rico 2 weeks ago. I caught a body about a week ago, and I put the body over there by Frazier Hall behind the third bush in the front of the building. Negro, you deserve to go to jail, you idiot. You deserve to go to jail. I'm on my Charleston White. Lock them, call the police. No, send him to jail. So that's the thing about it, is that drill, in comparison to all of the art forms that came before it, drill is just the first overtly criminal, or overtly incriminating iteration of hip hop. You see what I'm saying? It's just young people being stupid.
There's also half of facade.
Okay, what you think?
I feel like there's so many people that want to be a drill rapper because of the mystique of it, but it's not actually like half of people not actually doing it. So,
Of course. Yeah, but see that's why whenever he was teaching y'all about minstrelsy, you know what I'm saying? The minstrel tradition and blackface and all of that. Here's what you gotta understand. Black men, we are simultaneously the most hated thing on earth, but also the most emulated. When you travel the world, you'll see that.
Yeah.
You'll see that everybody is trying to be like you, and they want what you got. It's really black people, because it's the same thing with black women, but in a different way. You know what I'm saying? All women on earth want to be as beautiful as black women, but they don't want to be black women. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why that's relevant is because you said mystique. You're right. They want to take the image of somebody who's a tough guy, right? But they're not really living that life. But but y'all are still moving the goalposts in a sense. What I mean is, let's not act like a rapper who really is a criminal, somebody like King Von who died, right? Let's not act like, because drill music comes out of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? I got cousins in Chicago right now dodging bullets. Chicago is a wild place. And the fact about the music is that because it comes out of that culture, rappers are going on record. The music started out as rappers beefing with each other, and they were talking about the criminal activity in great detail. That's what drill is. That's where it started from. Yes, they've been able to market it. They've been able to take the shadow of it, and you're right, market it. But its inception was already in death, and they ain't got nothing to do with black people. They ain't got nothing to do with white people. That's just black people being black. I reckon that'll be it. Like I said, if you hit the little QR code, you know what I'm saying? I'm willing to take it, questions or whatever via email. Thank you so much. It's always beautiful to come back here. All right, now, y'all have a good day.